What's up? It is the Sports Live on a Monday. Welcome into the month of April, which means we start off with a little April Fool's action. And so to keep your head on a swivel type of day, as the internet will try to get you in a lot of different ways on April Fool's Day, we're going to lean into it a little bit and do a little April Fool's challenge for the Titans 2024 season in a little bit of a news lull as the NFL teams are now really kind of waiting for the NFL draft before taking more swings in the free agency pool. And also a lot of top 30 NFL draft visits will start to happen here in the month of April to wrap up the pre-draft process. The Titans do start their off-season workout program a week from today, a little earlier because of a new head coach in Brian Callahan. So we've got a couple April Fool's Challenge topics to discuss regarding the two big-name wide receivers, Calvin Ridley and Deandre Hopkins, and running backs 1A, 1B, between the new guy, Tony Pollard, and second-year player, Tyjae Spears. Then we will discuss what was Zach Edey's performance in the Elite Eight that sent the Vols home and not to their first ever Final Four in school history. Purdue makes the Final Four with a 6-point win over Tennessee on Sunday. Hope everybody had a great Easter. Hey, Super Cooper says, first time watching live. Well, welcome into the show, and we'll wrap up this Monday with the age games. Zach, welcome in. Hope you had a good Easter weekend. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling.
Yeah, got a lot to talk about. We are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So we got you locked in there. We will tweet out segment by segment, link by link on our Twitter handle at A to Z Sports. So follow us at A to Z Sports. If you're a Titans fan, we got you covered right there. If you are on YouTube, you can do 3 things. First, subscribe to the channel. It is the easiest way to make sure that you know when we go live, all of our videos, morning, noon, and night, whether it's morning show, prime time, and everything in between. So subscribe. If you've already subscribed, we thank you. But like this video, it helps spread the love around YouTube with the algorithm that really no one knows how it works. One thing that we do know is if you like this video, it will help more Titans community members and A to Z sports fans get in on the action and interact, and that's what we want. And then the last thing is ring the bell. Make sure you hit that bell button, and that bell alert make sure that you get alerted every single time that we go live. That helps you out. It helps everything else out. When you wake up and Apple decides to recharge your computer and you got to wait 8 minutes, you got an update. It doesn't really matter, right? So that happened, and this currently is happening, you hitting the alert button. Facebook, what's going on Facebookers? Bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing, as we say on this show. Please share the show around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed, and we will get this party started here very shortly on a Monday.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He's Bingham, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. On our Twitter X timeline, follow us there at A to Z Sports. And also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go to make them a part of your new car buying process. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans, get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get a quote at fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 locations across the mid-state in Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro, online at KrebsKubota.com. So we will discuss Zach Edey and the Purdue Boilermakers getting past the Tennessee Vols in the Elite Eight. We'll talk about that as our second topic before the age game. But it is April Fool's Day, and so I've already seen a couple attempts on Titans Facebook as I was getting set for the show this morning to attempt to get one on Titans fans with some April Fool's jokes. So a head on a swivel type of day for everybody. It's, one of those days we have to double check the blue check mark because everybody can have a blue check mark at this point on the Twitter X timeline, thanks to Elon. But we're going to have a good show here today, Zach, because I think there's a couple interesting dynamics about this new Titans roster as the Titans have gone out and switched philosophies under the new head coach, Brian Callahan. They've brought in a lot of new talent. They've brought in big name talent at sexy skill positions like wide receiver Calvin Ridley on a big $92 million contract over 4 years, and running back Tony Pollard, the first signing they made in free agency to go along with Tyjae Spears. And now you've got Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears, Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. There's a lot of firepower where you've got multiple guys at multiple positions that can gain yards and score points. It's kind of unique to what we've been used to watching the Tennessee Titans, who have been built behind Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown for a couple of years, Zach. So this is a little bit of a unique situation for fans going into a season with some firepower.
Well, I think first and foremost, we talk about surrounding Will Levis with as many pieces as possible to make sure that he can thrive, be successful, and take this Titans team to where he wants to go, and also grow and mature, right? As a very young quarterback that has a little bit of experience in year one, how do you build on that to year 2, year 3, and year 4, and possibly get a new contract? Now, not getting ahead of ourselves there, I think they've started at least year 2 for Will Levis pretty well with surrounding him with better pieces. Got to address the offensive line even more than they already have in free agency within the draft. I do think that what they've done and kind of the two targets that we'll discuss today is running back and wide receiver. At running back, I think it starts with what the draft class is and what free agency was, right? That's why you saw a ton of running backs. This is a really good free agency period for running backs. The atmosphere of running back in the NFL is not great, and it probably won't continue to be great if you don't have that bell cow back like the Titans have had in the last several years, like Derrick Henry. You've got to kind of have that 1-2 punch. You look at Cincinnati and what Brian Callahan was used to with Zach Taylor. I mean, they had Joe Mixon, but they had Samaje Perine at one point. I mean, they had a dual threat, and Mixon, who now is with the Texans, is a premier back, right? I mean, I think he's shown that he got the contract. He can tote the rock. He can be reliable. I don't think that the Titans wanted to go into this particular season just betting on one guy at both positions, right? It's not only they didn't want to do it with Tyjae Spears by himself, but they want to do that with DeAndre Hopkins and really bet on the draft or Treylon Burks. So they went out and they replaced, some depth or main features at those positions. And that's kind of how Brian Callahan is going about it. And you got to applaud it, because what does it do? Singularly, those pieces should help Will Levis within this new offense.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think we can all look at what Tyjae Spears did as a rookie third-round pick out of Tulane, running for over 450 yards, averaging 4.5 yards per carry, catching the ball 52 times for 385 yards, a lot of yards from scrimmage on a limited 152 touches on the season. And I think that's where you like what you see in Tyjae Spears, and then you bring in a guy like Tony Pollard, who's coming off back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons with the Cowboys. He took over as the lead running back from Ezekiel Elliott a couple of years ago, had his injury from the hip drop tackle that is now a penalty in the NFL, and it took him about 9 to 10 weeks to get back to what his explosive self typically is. And now you've got two running backs who Spider-Man meme mirror each other of what their skill sets are. Both caught over 50 passes last year. Both are explosive one-cut running guys who can also be very slippery and be hard to tackle and create a lot of missed tackles. And they're around the same size. And so when Brian Callahan was discussing the Titans overall at the NFL owners meetings last week in Orlando, Jim Wyatt of TennesseeTitans.com asked him about how he envisions the roles between Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears in this new Titans backfield.
Yeah, added, I think, some explosiveness to our offense. Obviously, you pair up Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears together. That's a pretty formidable 1-2 punch. Two guys that both can score touchdowns. Got some explosiveness and make you miss in their game, and catch the ball to the backfield and can protect. And so you have two guys that are really sort of interchangeable, both with a little bit different skill sets that I think really add something unique to the offense. We'll find out. I think as I see them right now, they're both pretty interchangeable. But I do think that there will be some definition of role as we get going, as you get the pads on and start playing. Those guys will probably separate themselves in some role or another that they'll really kind of sink their teeth into. But as of right now, I see them pretty interchangeable. So I don't know. That's probably the best way to put it. We'll find out more as we go.
Right.
And video via Jim Wyatt of the Tennessee Titans right there. So interchangeable. We'll find out once you get into the program, once you get on the practice field, of which guy might arise. Now, you have Tony Pollard making an average of $8 million a year and Tyjae Spears on a rookie contract out of the third round. So one guy is getting compensated eons more than the other guy. And so, Zach, let's go ahead and dive into our question here, because I think there's a lot of comments to be made about what we just heard from Brian Callahan. But the question, or kind of our game that we're going to play here, our April Fool's Challenge, is we're going to make a couple statements, and we want to know if there's fool's gold or gold. Fool's gold or gold here on April Fool's Day 2024. Here's our first one. Tony Pollard will be running back one for the Titans in 2024. Is that fool's gold or is that gold? Tony Pollard will be running back one for the Titans in 2024. Fool's gold or gold? We'll get to all of your answers there. But first, it's Monday after a big weekend in the tournament. We got to update our bracket challenge presented by Prince's Hot Chicken, the original hot chicken in Nashville, and their location at the Tanger Outlets in Nashville, right off of Cane Ridge. The Tanger Outlets, first of all, is phenomenal. 70% off your favorite brands and have up to 100 of your favorite brands at Nashville's newest shopping destination, right off of Cane Ridge. And right there in the middle of it is a brand new Prince's Hot Chicken location where they've got a great deal going on. You can still catch it for another weekend, all tournament long, with 10 winglets, your choice of heat, fries, and a fountain drink for just $17.50 at Prince's Hot Chicken at Tanger Outlets in Nashville. And so, Zach, I need to update our standings here. There's only a few people who can win this bracket challenge, and gift cards to both Tanger and to our friends at Prince's Hot Chicken are on the line for our local winners. Lurch has Purdue as his champion. Rick and CPUT have UConn as their champions and are all tied at 80 points apiece. So really, that's what it is up for grabs. It could be Lurch, who's got Purdue, or Rick or CPUT. Rick's got the edge over CPUT right now, but they both have UConn as their winners. So it's going to go down to the wire with the last three games coming up. But shout out to Prince's Hot Chicken at the Tanger Outlets in Nashville. Check them out there for all of your basketball viewing. But Zach, I will send you back to the chat and ask our fool's gold or gold question. Tony Pollard will be running back one for the Tennessee Titans in 2024. Is that gold or fool's gold?
Jacob starts us off with fool's gold. Jake goes gold. Fool's gold from Ken. Gold coming in right there from Mally. And then Ashley says gold. Richie says fool's gold. Eric says gold. Demetrius goes gold. So does Steven. So does Thomas. Andre says fool's gold. And then we've got the gold rush coming in. Hashtag Scott, Eric, Chris, Caleb, Brad all go gold. John McDaniels goes fool's gold. Kenneth goes gold. A couple of fool's golds. Here's now the fool's gold rush coming in. Because Al, Wes, Deshaun Washington, Daniel, also, they all go fool's gold along with Patrick and Billy. Then we got gold coming in from Top Tier and Apollo and Dad to the Bone. So, look, I think gold is starting to kind of take the reins with Orlando and Koss and Guy. Solid gold coming in from Shane. Timmy says gold. But then you got a couple fool's gold. Mr. Jones says fools were the Titans cutting Derrick Henry. And he can have his own opinion on that. I think that was
the fact that there wasn't a cut, but that's okay. Like, come on.
Yeah, moving on. Let's just say moving on. I think there's more fool's gold than I thought. William says fool's gold. Spears is RB1. Jeff says, I guess it's fool's gold. And then Eric brings up 24 karat gold. You don't pay him that money to be a backup. And I think that's a valuable comment right here.
Sure.
Also, are you gold or are you fool's gold that Tony Pollard RB1 this season, or at least starting out?
Yeah, I'm going to go with fool's gold on this. And would you say that gold was the more popular answer from the chat.
Yes.
So I'm going to go a little oppo on this. I think it's fool's gold. I think, look, Tony Pollard's got experience, but what Tyjae Spears showed everybody last year is that he is a bona fide playmaker, and he can also be trusted. He can be trusted by his teammates and his coaching staff, including the new coaches coming in, because of his dedication to the game and because of how he goes about his approach and how he pass protects too. And look, Tony Pollard might be a more experienced running back and have more of that understanding of the nuance of how to play running back in the NFL, which is an edge that Tyjae simply can't have at this point in his career. But Tyjae Spears earned so much respect from his teammates that are still going to be in that locker room last year for how he sticks his nose in it and it doesn't give up. And I think the fact that the tiebreaker between these two guys is that I'm going to put Tyjae Spears on the field more often than Tony Pollard in passing down situations because Tyjae Spears has proven to be a commodity in pass protecting. What are you laughing at?
You hadn't watched enough Cowboys games, but you like Tony Pollard. You sit there and you pay Tony Pollard. It doesn't matter. There's no loyalty. You're not signing a guy that like the loyalty is out the window. Mike Vrabel and like that doesn't matter. Okay, it is a brand new offense with a brand new piece, with an experienced piece, a proven piece. You're talking about Tyjae Spears proving something. Tony Pollard has proven plenty that he can play in this league at a high level. He has that. Wouldn't that trump in a training camp battle? Usually experience and pay trump getting off. I think Tony Pollard's going to start ahead of Tyjae Spears when they begin camp. And I think when they end camp, Tony Pollard will still be ahead of Tyjae Spears. Not saying Tyjae Spears won't play, but Tony Pollard is the reliable resource.
So look, they both have proven to be reliable. I think what you saw with Tyjae Spears and Will Levis creating a connection last year is valuable there too. And I'm not saying whatever I just said about Tyjae Spears, I'm not trying to take anything away from Tony Pollard. I think it's a really good signing. At first, when this was the first Titans move made in free agency, I was like, oh man, like $8 million for Tony Pollard. I questioned it, but the more and more it went along, the more and more I liked it. I think it's fool's gold for Tony Pollard will be running back one for the Titans in 2024. I say fool's gold because I think the Titans brass really likes Tyjae Spears. Obviously, they like Tony Pollard too, but my whole point is I don't think there's going to be a running back one as well. I think this is going to be a true running back by committee. I think it's a game plan, a week by week. Who's got the hot hand? Who's healthiest at the time? Tony Pollard came on late for the Cowboys last year after, suffering and returning from the injury, the broken fibula in the playoffs the year before, and he was way better. He was Pro Football Focus's highest graded running back from week 10 through the Super Bowl, including all those playoff running backs and Derrick Henry, who didn't make the playoffs, and everybody involved. He was the highest graded guy. But Tyjae Spears, I think, has earned a reputation in the locker room, and he's a draft pick by Rand Carthon. I think it's going to be a true running back by committee. So part of my fool's gold is I don't think either guy is going to be running back one. So I think it's a true perfect fit with what these two guys are.
Who will be on the graphic week one with whoever they play at noon? Who will be on the graphic
for starting lineup? I don't know.
You're saying Tyjae Spears?
I didn't.
Because that's the question. Let's go back to the question. RB1 means you're on the graphic. You are the man on the graphic. And at noon, high noon, when they're playing the Chargers or whoever they're playing, week one, who's going to be on that graphic? Because that's what RB1 represents.
I don't.
You have to have a depth chart, whether you like it or not. You can sit here and say, "Oh, we're going to split time. We're going to be even. We love all of our kids equally. We don't have a favorite." Well, bro, when you submit that graphic, there's got to be one running back.
I think it's more about.
There's too many wide receivers, Austin. There has to be one running back.
Well, who are your five? This is a whole different topic. Who are your five skill players that take the field for the first snap on the Titan season? I could see it. I could see it being two running back system with DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, and Chig Okonkwo, and doing something. We don't know. We don't know what to expect.
On the graphic as running back 1.
I don't know, but I'm not
Who
talking
do you think?
about.
I don't know is not an answer. I don't know is not an answer.
It is a worthless prediction to make.
I'm asking you a question. It literally is not worthless. It's the exact topic we're talking about today.
I don't know.
You're saying what you are saying is that this is fool's gold, that Tony Pollard will be RB1. RB1 represents you're on the graphic. I'll go ahead and say it with my chest. Tony Pollard's going to be on that graphic. Tyjae Spears will be on that graphic.
I don't give a damn about the graphic on CBS. I care about who has RB1. The most snaps.
That's RB1.
No, that's stupid. That is a stupid way to view things.
It's the truth.
Who has more snaps? That is running back 1. At the end of the season, at the end of each game, who plays more snaps? That is your running back 1. My whole point on Fool's Gold is I don't think there's going to be a running back 1. I'm not saying it's Spears because it's not Pollard. I just think it's going to be 1 week Pollard's got more snaps, the next week Spears got more snaps. And it's going to be a rotating every week, or 2 weeks this week, 1 week that week. It's going to be flip-flopping all over the place, snip, snap, snip, snap. That is how they're going to use these running backs, because they are the same. And that's a good thing. I like it a lot, because how much have I been bitching over the last 5 years that whenever the Titans put out Derrick Henry as a running back and NWI and Cody Hollister as the wide receivers, you know exactly what they're going to do. And then, here comes, whether it's Dontrell Hilliard, Tyjae Spears, or insert pass-catching running back C, and then you put out there your wide receivers that can run routes. You know they're going to throw the ball, and then Dennis Daly / Andre Dillard / Jalen Duncan give up a sack.
What's that is my point here. Question, if you're going to say everybody wins. Oh, everybody's great. Everything's going to be good. We love this. That's kind of what you're saying. There's no, you've picked everyone. Then what's the point of the question? Why are we doing this?
Because I don't think there's going to be a running back 1 like there has been in Nashville, Tennessee since they've arrived in Nashville, Tennessee. This is unique. This is unique. Zach, we've gone through eras of great running backs in this organization. We are changing eras. That is the point.
I think this is fence riding 101.
No.
I thought you got over this over years and years of doing this show. I thought you weren't a fence rider.
What was the question, Zach? What was the question?
RB1.
Right. It wasn't who is RB1, pick one guy. It is Tony Pollard is RB1 for the Titans, fool's gold or gold. I say it's fool's gold. Because there is no running back 1.
Who will be the starting running back week 1 in your opinion?
Who starts? I don't know. I have no idea.
You're not answering anything. What's the point of this show?
Because
you're not saying anything.
You know what? What are you talking about? I just went through a big thing about how this is a brand new era that's different from the last 25 years.
You blew roses up my ass. I get it. You said everything's going to be good. Oh my gosh, they're so talented. They got 2 guys that do so many different things. They're so diverse. They can catch out of the backfield. They can run the football between the sticks. They can pass block. Oh my gosh, it's such a different era. Of course. Yes, of course.
Thank you, Jacob. I did answer the question. You just don't like it. That's exactly what that is.
All you're saying is good things. But when I ask you a direct question, your answer is I don't know.
You're asked because the direct question you're making me answer is a prediction off of something that does not matter. It does not matter.
You won't answer it though.
Huh?
You won't answer it.
Because I have nothing to base an answer off of. It's just, you want me to pull something out of my ass? I'll do it for you.
No, I want you to form an opinion.
Opinion about what? Based on what?
Who do you think, based on right now what you know, that's all we can do on April 1st, who do you think will be RB1 to start the season?
You're saying who takes the first snap and who's on the CBS starting lineup graphic. That does not matter.
I asked you that 4 times. You said, I don't know. You wouldn't answer it.
Because there's nothing to base it on, Zach.
I'm asking you a question.
I don't know. What's wrong with saying I don't know?
You can't form an opinion.
There is nothing to form an opinion on who's going to take the first snap of the season.
Okay, I'll form one. Do you want me to form one?
Sure, you can.
Here, I'll answer the damn question since you won't. Tony Pollard will be on the graphic. Obviously, barring injury, right? We'll say that. But Tony Pollard, if both are healthy to start the season, they invested into Tony Pollard because they believe that they can get more out of Tony Pollard than the Dallas Cowboys did last year. Tony Pollard had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Tyjae Spears hasn't sniffed that. And honestly, and rightly so because of opportunity, but Tony Pollard earned his starting spot behind Ezekiel Elliott. He forced the Cowboys to move on from Ezekiel Elliott. They paid Tony Pollard for a reason. He's going to get seniority. He is going to get the first snaps to start camp. He has the experience. He's the veteran, and he has the leg above Tyjae Spears. That's not necessarily Tyjae Spears' fault. I don't think that's Tyjae Spears' fault. So I will form an opinion and answer the question and say Tony Pollard will be on the graphic to start the season week 1. You may not think that matters, and that's fine. I answered the question.
That's fine. I
formed an opinion based on the question.
Here's my
opinion. You can't do that. You can't.
Here's my opinion. The starting lineup graphic does not matter for the Titans running backs this year. It does not. It matters for the offensive line. You know what it also doesn't matter for? It doesn't matter for the tight end position because it's personnel based. Like, this is not Madden where you starting lineup this thing and that's how you do.
I asked a question. I know. I just asked a question.
And my answer is your question is irrelevant.
No. Your answer is I don't know. That was your answer.
My question is I don't care about the graphic for the starting lineup between these two guys.
Then I don't care about this question that you formed. Like, what does that mean?
Zach, you value the graphic. I value the snaps. Similar snaps means no running back 1. I think it's the question was Tony Pollard is running back 1, fool's gold or gold. I don't think that there is going to be a running back 1. Therefore, I think it is fool's gold. If you think that there's a running back 1 and it's Tony Pollard, then that's fine. I don't think there's going to be a running back 1 in this offense for the first time in Titans history since they've been in Nashville. It's been Eddie George, Chris Brown, Chris Johnson, DeMarco Murray, and Derrick Henry. It's been those 5 guys dominating the football at the position for 25 years. It is not going to be like that this year. And that's a good thing overall. That is my take on this. There is no running back 1. So the question that we asked originally is it's fool's gold because I don't think Tony Pollard's running back 1. I also don't think Tyjae Spears is running back 1. Is that fair?
I'm done with your answers. So it was a separate question that you wouldn't answer. That's fine.
Because it's irrelevant.
And let's recognize Bishop Sankey as well because you just passed over Bishop Sankey out of Michigan State. That was a second-round pick.
Bishop Sankey did not go to Michigan State. You want to try again on that?
Where did he go? Oh, I was thinking of who was the Bishop Sankey running back they drafted?
Who was the what?
Who was the Michigan State?
Oh, come on. You got it. You got this 5th-round pick. Come on. You got this.
Who was it? I'm asking.
Javon Ringer. Come on. Where did Bishop Sankey go
to? West Coast. He went to Washington.
There you go. Another Washington flop for the Titans that they've had.
I did answer that question.
You did because there's an answer. There's an accurate answer.
I didn't dismiss it.
God. All right, let's go ahead and get to this next one because we've got another fool's gold or gold, and I think this one is going to be interesting as well because it is between the 2 wide receivers. Here's the question: Deandre Hopkins will catch more touchdowns than Calvin Ridley in 2024. Is that fool's gold or gold? DeAndre Hopkins will catch more touchdowns than Calvin Ridley in 2024. Fool's gold or gold? But first, Krebs Kubota is always gold when it comes to your equipment needs. KrebsKubota.com. Check them out. They've got 3 great locations across the mid-state in Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. They are an elite Kubota dealer, which means they have the best equipment in the industry to go along with the best customer service as well. And at Krebs Kubota, they can make sure that you know exactly what you're getting, exactly what you need, how to pay for it, the warranties to go along with it, and the customer service follow-ups to make sure whenever there's a problem, whenever there's something you need assistance with, they are right there for you on your side to help you out because relationships are so important when it comes to your equipment provider at Krebs Kubota. Once again, family owned and operated for over 18 years with 3 great locations, Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro, online at KrebsKubota.com.
BetMGM, download the app today. Use that bonus code ATOZ Sports. They're the king of the sports book. Get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. For new users, but you got to use that bonus code ATOZ Sports. Look, you can get in on women's hoops today. Tonight's going to be big. You got Iowa and LSU. You got UConn and USC. You got the NBA rolling, and you got March Madness and the Final Four on the horizon next week. So download the app. That's BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports.
All right, another question for you guys. DeAndre Hopkins will catch more touchdowns than Calvin Ridley with the Titans in 2024. Fool's gold or gold for D-Hop to have more touchdowns? Zach, excuse me, I will send you to the chat.
Orlando's going fool's gold. We've got gold coming in from Titans Kyle and John and Chris Frazier, as well as Dad to the Bone. And Ashley also goes gold. Wesley's going fool's gold. So is Jake, and so is Bobby. So there's 3 fool's golds coming in. Maven says gold. Joshua says gold. Stephen King says fool's gold. Hashtag goes gold. Ridley will have more yards, though. Okay, so there you go. Steve says gold. Asili says gold. Ken says gold. Fool's gold from Richie. Super Cooper, who is joining us live, goes with gold. Karen says gold. Gold plated from Kenny Hill. So does Ahmad. Denise goes gold. Has a relationship with Will Levis already. Landon goes fooled gold. DeMario says this is a very good question. Ronnie says gold. Billy Jones says gold. Bill says gold. So look, I think we have split, but you got probably a little bit more gold. I think altogether, back-to-back questions, we've had more golds than fool's gold. Austin, don't say they're catching the same amount of touchdowns.
Well, let's look at last year. Oh, they're close. Ridley had 1 more touchdown. That's 8 touchdowns with the Jags last year, and D-Hop had 7. And Diop had a slow start to the season when it came to getting in the end zone. It wasn't until Will Levis's first start in the 7th game of the season when D-Hop scored 3 all of a sudden, and then he got it rolling a little bit there too. So I think this one there's more of a tangible way to answer this question because it's touchdowns, right? Like I think
so. You want to answer this one?
Yeah, I answered the first one too. You just don't like it. Which is
no,
fine.
You didn't answer the follow-up question.
I did answer the follow-up question. Is that
I don't know is not an answer.
I also said that I don't care. But anyway, so I actually do think that DeAndre Hopkins catches more touchdowns than Calvin Ridley this year. So I'm going to say gold on this one because it was very evident that Will Levis threw to DeAndre Hopkins quite a bit. That there was a relationship, a respect factor between the veteran wide receiver and the rookie quarterback. They clicked pretty immediately. And this is something where, they didn't get a lot of training camp reps together at all. And Levis got hurt in Minnesota when he did something to his lower body. One of those big muscles got a little tweaked or something, and he didn't play in those 2 preseason games. So he went into that bye week, knew he was going to start against the Falcons, start getting to going with Hopkins a little bit. And they explode for 3 touchdowns in that game. And you saw Levis's bailout reaction. His bailout was really just throw to 10. And it's not good. And I don't think he's going to fall into that as often as he did as a rookie in year 2. But now he's got somebody opposite that's Ridley where you have multiple choices. But I do think DeAndre Hopkins is going to catch more touchdowns than Calvin Ridley just because of what we saw in a short sample size with Will Levis last year.
So I'm going fool's gold. I'm going the other opposite way. And it's based on a singular reason. This is not necessarily about DeAndre Hopkins. This is solely about Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley is pissed. I think he's got something to prove. I think that he's upset because he lost years because of his gambling, situation. He's come back and he's proven it. And then he had the free agency where he was talking to a bunch of teams. The whole, the New England Patriots ordeal is kind of funny. Honestly, I laughed at that. But now he found his home. And based on what he said at his press conference when they introduced him, this guy, I think, is going to make sure he has the best relationship with Will Levis of anybody on the team. I just think that connection. So it's all risk, right? We have no idea what's going to happen. But if I was a betting man, which I am a betting man when I use BetMGM, I would place my chips on Calvin Ridley having more touchdowns. I think you're going to see big time touchdowns, a secondary option, right? You can't throw to Kyle Phillips or Traylon Burks or Chig. It was the only guy on the field that had that trust. Now I think Calvin Ridley is going to sit there and say, year one, if I can earn and gain the trust from Will Levis right out of the gate, the next 3 years are going to be a lot more beneficial to me as a player, to us as a team. I'm going Ridley.
Look, I think, and Ridley said that at his press conference, and he talked about that in a lot of the media that he did after the Titans signed him in free agency last month, because it's April now. But he's talked about what he did with Trevor Lawrence. They went out there, they started throwing immediately just on their own together. And I think Calvin Ridley, who said, I love football. Football is what I do. Will Levis clearly loves football. That's what he does, as does DeAndre Hopkins. I think the good thing is, here's a follow-up question to that. Like, can both guys be double digits in touchdown catches?
I don't know if this I can't see a Titans offense having two guys catch 10 touchdowns. That is a weird world that has never been lived.
But this is a different offense, though, right?
Yeah, but it's year one of this offense, right?
But we also know that they're more than likely gonna have to throw the ball a lot, right? Because they're gonna not be great. They're gonna give up points. Yes, the secondary is exciting right now, but still, who's playing linebacker? Who's covering the tight end? I think you get the wide receivers locked down pretty well, but who's covering the tight end for 100 yards a game? But I think it's just like Jonnu Smith had 8 in the same year that AJ had 11. So you got really close there in 2020 in just.
And that was the most
games.
prolific offense, right, that they've had. So
yes.
I think I agree with Shrike in the comments. Probably more likely that they have 1,000 yards each instead of 210 touchdowns. I'm a betting man, as I just said. That is something that I do not bet on, even if it's plus 10,000. I don't see the Titans having 10 touchdown wide receivers because of Tony Pollard, Tyjae Spears, Chig. You got Traylon Burks that gets forgot about, which is hilarious.
But Burks
you get
doesn't
Kyle
score
Phillips, who
touchdowns.
gets forgot about. NWI, Burks doesn't catch touchdowns, so maybe you don't have to worry about that. But that's too much. No more. You're at like those Brazilian steak restaurants now. No more. I'm flipping my red. I'm going my red over. I don't want any more.
Look, I think the other reason why I think it's gold that Hopkins will have more touchdowns than Ridley is because of the savviness that Hopkins has in the red zone. I think I'm fascinated to see how they scheme these guys open. But, D-Hop obviously caught some big play touchdowns for the Titans last year, but he was really good in the red zone on those delayed slants, the play action, peek out the back of the end zone late, or just a little quick get open across the goal line route that he is so good at his age. DeAndre Hopkins is the jump shooter that you're like, I was hand in his face, couldn't do anything about it, right? Calvin Ridley is the guy that's blowing by you to the rim at this point in his career too. So I think that's where I think the jump shooting ability of DeAndre Hopkins is going to win in the red zone, where they're going to be more like, all right, it's 3rd and goal at the 5. We got to get D-Hop open. That's where it's a specific play for DeAndre Hopkins. I think he gets more of those than Ridley does. Ridley might be option 2 on that situation, but I think that's where D-Hop's going to get more targets in the touchdown scoring area.
Well, good problems to have, different problems to have. And then, I want to circle back real quick to the running back. I'm not going to get on the RB1 thing, but
okay.
I will say that Tony Pollard's ability, and I'll throw in Spears' ability, to catch the football as a check down option is something that will be more consistent than Will Levis ever had last year, because Derrick Henry being on the field. And that will help him but also take away some probable passes to maybe some wide receivers. So I'm excited about this offense. I'm curious about the decision-making that Will Levis is going to make. And the best part about it is how many guys on this offense have a lot to prove. Deandre Hopkins wants to prove that he can still play because I think he's been doubted late in his career, and he uses that as fuel. Calvin Ridley has a lot to prove because he wants to be a top 5 wide receiver, and I think in his mind he can be, and top 5 is a tough. I mean, there's a lot of spectacular
There's a lot of top 5 ability receivers in the league.
Yeah, that are above Calvin Ridley. You got Tony Pollard that didn't have a great year last year that wants to prove it. Tyjae Spears needs to prove that he can play in this league and that they shouldn't have gone and paid Tony Pollard over him. You know, Chig's got to prove that he can have a better year than he did last year. Kyle Phillips needs to prove that he can even be on the field.
Yeah.
Right? Traylon Burks, out of everybody, has the most to prove as a first-round draft pick that is dumpster slaw and has been for the last 2 years, and he can stay on the field. So how do you mix all of that I have a lot to prove and come together within this offense and change Titans football? How do you change Titans football? Because in no world two players catch 10-plus touchdowns in any Titans football. Maybe, look, they thought that many a times at some point in time with bad offenses that turned into good offenses. Maybe the Titans are able to do that.
All right, let's go ahead and Kendall asked this question earlier. So why do y'all look so pissed off? In case of the Mondays, no, I am mad because I had to deal with 2.5 hours of Zach Edey yesterday. And so that is what we're going to get to here next. And the Vols lost to Purdue in the Elite Eight, missing out on the opportunity for the first Final Four in school history. And yes, that sucks. That burns overall. And Purdue's a good basketball team. But I think, and I said this on Twitter yesterday, and it's getting blown up, a lot of attention here, but we'll ask the question this. Is Zach Edey bad for college basketball? Is Zach Edey bad for college basketball? We'll react to Tennessee and Purdue in the Elite Eight, but first, Zach, tell everybody about Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com/A to Z is where to go to get your health plan. 200-plus locations across the state of Tennessee, health, dental, and vision. Over 75-plus years in service. If you are in the state of Tennessee, you can go and need to go at least check out their rates for Farm Bureau Health Plans. Their rates on top of their plans for you individually, for you and your family. They've got you covered all walks of life, but you just got to make that initial health assessment, get that initial quote, and then make your decision. I made it a couple of years ago, and I'm very, very glad and proud that I did. It has helped me throughout the course of whether it was the remnants of the COVID, getting sick, doing whatever, whether you got to go to an urgent care, they're there to provide you with the health plan that you need. That's Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee, FBHP.com/ATOZ.
And with BetMGM, you know you can always win and get it big with our bonus code ATOZ Sports. You get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, the best daily promotions in the business. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. Use our code ATOZ Sports and get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Place your money line, prop, and parlay bets with the king of sportsbooks today. BetMGM and GameCenter remind you to play responsibly. BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Tennessee only new customer offer. Subject to qualification, other requirements. Rewards issued if knowledgeable bonus bets. They expire in 7 days. And for problem game with sport, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. So Zach, a topic that is going to be interesting because Zach Edey and the Purdue Boilermakers beat the Vols by 6, 72-66. Zach Edey scored 40 points. He had 16 rebounds, and he drew 12 fouls on the Tennessee Vols. The question, is Zach Edey bad for college basketball, is interesting. I will let you go to the chat, and I've obviously got plenty of opinions, and I'm curious to see how you view this as a non-Tennessee person. Obviously I graduated from Tennessee.
You still got your orange glasses on. You're not taking those off.
No, because I have followed Zach Edey and Purdue all season. And this is something that, I was a sophomore at Tennessee when they went to their first Elite Eight and lost to Michigan State. And then this one where they lose to Purdue in really tough fashion. But I'm just curious, is he bad for college basketball, Zach Edey? So, Zach, I'll let you get to the chat.
Let's see here. Alex saying sour grapes broke Karen's heart that the Vols lost. Dimitri says, yes, Edey will be slow on the pros. And I would agree with that. I mean, Edey's problem is that he doesn't have any sort of exterior game. There's no 16-foot jump shot. There's no three-point threat. He screens and rolls. But look, you play to win the game that you're playing. In the collegiate game, you can score 40 points and be essentially the best singular player in the sport currently, which I think is Zach Edey. I think his numbers prove that. Edey is only bad if the refs let him be. There's a take from Jason. Patrick agrees that he is bad for college basketball. Kenneth says no. That Burns Edey matchup will be fun to watch, though. Talking about NC State next week. No, stop pouting. Talking to Tennessee fans. The media perception of him is bad. No, college basketball needs a name that people recognize. Mr. Jones says referees are the problem. Let's see here. Zach Edey takes the fun out of basketball. I think it just depends on what side you're on.
Well, I think here's
how you're watching.
Nobody turns on a basketball game to watch a free throw contest, right? That is objective across.
Sports fans enjoy watching dominant performances, and whether it is a free throw going to the free throw line, look, he averages 10 to 12 free throws a game. That's what his game is. So at least the refs have been consistent all year. It's not like they just started let's screw Tennessee.
So
they didn't do that.
Ryan came in with a super chat. Says Austin can't form an opinion because his Vols failed again. Ryan, who is a Michigan Kentucky fan, look, you guys.
Well, no, Michigan football, Kentucky basketball.
Yeah. So Ryan is riding on his Michigan Wolverines high still, but Kentucky basketball not so much. So here is my opinion on this. I do think Zach Edey the phenomenon of Zach Edey is bad for college basketball. I don't blame him. I don't blame the person. It's not his fault. But the way he has been officiated, the way he's been covered, and the way his coach white knights for him to make him not be a victim. And Zach Edey does play victim a bit, and we'll get to some of his post-game comments here in a second. He does.
Play victim.
We'll get to it. But Zach Edey, it's not about Zach Edey getting fouled. That is not what I'm upset about, because the 12 or whatever fouls that he drew against Tennessee, 95% of those were legitimate fouls on the Vols. I'm not complaining about that. The problem with Zach Edey is that he is allowed to, by the officials, to throw people around, to swing elbows, to move people out of the way, to fall down into other people and get fouls called on the other person. The way he is protected from getting a foul called on him is what makes him bad for college basketball, because everybody knows this. At any level of basketball, your fouls are protected. You have to be smart. You can't take dumb fouls. If you're an important player, then you have to understand the other team is going to go at you to try to get you in foul trouble to adjust the game. That's strategic. But with Zach Edey, it's impossible, because they will not call fouls on him when he fouls people. Like when he smacks Toby Awaka in the face with an arm, and then he gets a foul called on Josiah Jordan-James the split second after that, it's ridiculous. When he falls down on Toby Awaka and Awaka gets called for a foul, that's ridiculous. It
what
is
about the block at the end of the game on Dog Connect? You think that
was the best play he made? It was the best play he made all game.
No, he had if you watch Zach Edey over the course of the season, the reason why he does not get a ton of fouls called on him is because offenses are scared to go at him because he's 7-4 and he blocks shots. Maybe are there one or two fouls?
He doesn't block that many shots.
But are there one or two fouls? He doesn't block that many shots.
He doesn't.
There may be one or two fouls that you could argue, but
yes,
that is not the
huge.
complete changer of the game.
He does,
Austin, the reason why the Tennessee Volunteers lost was not because of Zach Edey. It was because they missed 9 shots that they should have made.
Again, I sent that tweet yesterday. There are 2 realities for Tennessee. 1, Zach Edey is brutal to play against and very frustrating. And 2, hold on, Dalton Knecht balled out, but nobody else stepped up. If 1 or 2 other guys steps up, Tennessee wins.
Flip those. Okay, you're in the wrong order because you were so enamored by Zach Edey because he is enamoring. But so he doesn't play victim. He's just dominant.
Austin, he does play victim.
He does not. This is sour grapes. This is you crying orange tears. He doesn't play victim.
Right, so
you know what he does? He uses his body and his ability to play the game.
So
and if
Big
one
Ten
is
Jeff,
bigger than others, he does.
Big Ten Jeff says, Austin just now realizing this. Welcome to Big Ten. No, Jeff, I know this, and I threw shade on this 3 weeks ago when Zach Edey ran over a dude from Wisconsin, just bowled right through him, and the Wisconsin guy got called a foul. So Jeff, I've been paying attention to Purdue, man. So don't take your Big Ten, oh my God, welcome to the party thing. This is a national storyline that has been discussed for the last 1.5 to 2 years. Zach Edey has become a phenomenon. It's not his fault, but the way he's officiated and the way he's allowed to get away with throwing people to the side and throwing his arm, he's hooking guys, and it's not getting called.
Bad for basketball didn't change the outcome, though. You're saying that whatever you're saying would not have changed the outcome.
It would, because if Zach Edey gets, hold on.
No, Tennessee's 9 missed shots.
Yes, obviously they missed shots. I understand that. I'm not taking that away. I do not think Tennessee lost the game because of Zach Edey's fouls, 12 fouls called on him. I think Tennessee came up short in a big moment. They had plenty of opportunity to win the game. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the way Zach Edey is officiated, because that is the biggest storyline of the day in college basketball. Zach Edey, and you said this earlier, 1 or 2 fouls, sure, right? That's a huge deal. If one of those fouls gets called on Zach Edey in the first 10 minutes of the game, that changes the game, because that's what happened to Jonas Aidoo. It's what happened to Tobe Awaka for Tennessee, and it's what happened to a million other players that have played against
fouling
Purdue.
Him. Do you think that? No,
I know that.
Do you believe that those fouls on Tennessee, guarding a 7-4 dominant force, do you feel like they're not fouling them that early in the game? Ask Utah State. Did you watch Purdue, Utah State? Did you watch the first 10 minutes of that game?
Parts of it because of, lots of
the
games.
The first 10 minutes of the game went
exactly
the same way that Tennessee did. They are fouling this man.
I know. I literally just said 95% of the fouls called on Tennessee were warranted. I literally said that, if you would listen to what I'm saying, please.
So
my point is that he doesn't get fouls called on him. It needs
he
to
does
go
not
both ways.
foul at the same rate.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
No, Austin. He does not foul at the same rate that he is getting fouled. That's false.
I didn't say that either. But all it takes is 1 or 2. And go look at the G-Man balls.
That does not change the outcome of this game. The outcome is changed based on the shooting of the Tennessee Volunteers. Okay. Whether was their dry spell when they were up 12 at the end of the first half,
no doubt.
Or was it at the end when Ziegler was wide the F open and he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn?
Yes,
that was the singular moment. And Austin, I don't think, and this is my opinion, I think if Tennessee wins that game, I don't know if you're screaming from high heavens that he's this bad for college basketball.
I have been very. We haven't.
I don't think you're screaming to high heavens as you are now. If that is opposite, or maybe I just think that is the reality of this particular situation. Also, we've seen these before. Like in the history of college basketball, there's always been that dominant force, right? Whether it was Greg Oden at the time, Charlie Villanueva for UConn back in the day, Bill Russell,
but nobody gets this. Watch Zach Edey.
What about? And we weren't alive, but Austin, then you'd really be pissed if you were in the era of Wilt Chamberlain. That's this type of basketball. It's a man among boys.
Yeah, but the point is, he doesn't get called for the same fouls as opponents do. Like, come on. And thank you, Brock. I have been talking about Zach Edey for weeks because of what the end of the college basketball season ramps up to. We don't talk college basketball really much at all until moments like this.
He's not bad for the game of college basketball. He's a freak. Like, he's a once in a probably 5 to 10 to 15 year freak.
He is a generational player. He is not a generational talent. He is a generational player who is here, and he is a disruptor to a lot of the flow. And it's frustrating.
And Austin, that's good for college basketball. This is where you're like kind of polar opposite. Zach Edey is good for college basketball.
I disagree.
As a whole,
he makes games nearly unwatchable. But
if they're playing your team,
Zach,
Austin, if you bet Purdue -3.5 and they were playing Oklahoma, you'd sit there and be like, hell yeah. You know why? Because it's fun. It's fun to win bets, and it's fun to have Zach Edey win you bets.
But I also have a complex brain, and I can understand that, yeah, that's a good bet to make, but I also hate the product. Like, I can have both things at the same time. Both of them, right? And so how about this? The last 4 NCAA tournament games where one team has been called for 10 plus more fouls than the other team have all involved Zach Edey and Purdue. 3 of them have been the last 3 games that Purdue's played, where their opponent had been called for 10 plus more fouls. And it's not about the Vols.
Didn't they do that though?
Yes, but it's what – go look at how little fouls called on Purdue there are in this entire tournament. And Zach Edey's hooking arms. He's throwing elbows. Like, he's chicken winging on screens.
Like a crybaby.
Go watch it, dude. Like,
you don't think I didn't watch the game?
Yes, I did, but go back and watch the plays. Watch him chicken wing Zakai Ziegler on a screen, and nothing happened. And his teammate, number 4 on Purdue, got called for that same foul in the first half. But Zach Edey doesn't get it.
There's always going to be there's going to be missed calls for both sides, right? We all agree on that. We all agree.
Zach, it's so clear and obvious. Zach Edey fell down, and Tobey Walker picked up his 4th foul. Zach Edey fell down because he's 7'4" and awkward, and he fell, and Awaka got his 4th foul.
But
like,
Austin, I think the difference is that, like, what you're arguing is not the reason why the opponent lost.
I said that already.
No, I understand. That's why I say it's not bad for college basketball, because you're self-admitting that if the opposition would have done something different, completely irregardless of what you're arguing for, the opponent would have won. So that proves that he is not bad for college basketball.
I think
it literally proves the point.
I will predict DJ Burns from NC State will be in foul trouble in the first half of the Final Four game because Zach Edey and the phenomenon there. And DJ Burns will not get the same calls that Zach Edey does. We got 6 days to predict that. That's going to happen Saturday night.
They also play differently, right? Like, nobody plays like
Burns
Zach Edey in his ability. He gets much easier shots. He defends differently because he's at a different point. He doesn't even need a ladder to cut down the nets. Like, he plays a different game. Is it more difficult to referee him? I would say yes, absolutely, right? Because it's this curveball thrown into a game of pretty consistent college basketball play. You don't get these freaks that often. But he's not bad for college basketball. He's actually very good, I think. Because you know what, Austin? He's going to graduate. If he was there forever, then I think I probably side with you.
He's already declared for the NBA draft, which he's not going to like where he gets picked.
That's why I say, like, that's the best part about college is they come and they go. So he's not bad for college basketball. He's great for college basketball for what he is valued at the time he's in college.
I disagree. I want to play this clip because I said earlier that Edey's got a victim mentality, and Zach disagreed with that. I'll play a clip from his post-game press conference. But first, the Bone and Joint Institute is where you need to go for all of your injury needs. Whenever you have that injury pop up in life, it's always an inconvenience. You never want to let that thing linger. Go get it checked out. Don't be stubborn. Don't just think it's going to automatically get better over time. Like sometimes it can, but if you need that help, the Bone and Joint Institute, they have all the experts and the resources in Franklin, Tennessee. They've got satellite clinics across Williamson County, but their main campus is phenomenal. It really is. All the technology, the experts, the rehab facility, the surgery center, the imaging, all right there off I-65 and Highway 96. It's so easy to get to. And check it and book an appointment at boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports powered by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app. You can bet on Zach Edey or UConn or NC State or Roll Tide Roll, the Bama boys that finally they made a run. I will say that when they start shooting, and I lost my under bet because of the damn Alabama Crimson Tide. But BetMGM afforded me that. Download the app today. That's BetMGM in your Apple or Android app store.
All right, so we've talked a lot about Zach Edey. Shrike says he's not good for college basketball, but he's not bad for college basketball. I think he's bad for college basketball. Zach thinks he's good. There's definitely middle ground there. So
was Marshall Henderson bad for college basketball?
No, it was great because he was entertaining. Zach Edey's not entertaining.
Zach Edey is entertaining. To see a guy dominate is maybe not dominate your favorite team. And this is where you are. Probably it hits too close to home.
Hey, how about this, Zach? How about this? It's Tennessee's fault. Tennessee's fault they had to play Purdue in this spot. If they would have taken care of business in the SEC tournament and not got bounced by Mississippi State, maybe they're a 1 seed and they're not in Purdue's region. That's their. How about that? I'll blame Tennessee for coming up short all day long. They crapped out the end of the regular season. They crapped out the SEC tournament. They lost their chance at a 1 seed and to avoid this situation.
Well,
1 seed, right?
You to be the best, you got to beat the best. So they lost.
That's why you want to be a 1 seed.
They gave up a 12-point lead at the end of the half and missed their shots at the end of the game.
No doubt. And you're not. And
that's
they also got Purdue went to the free throw line and shot 33 free throws, and Tennessee shot 11. And they're all
shooting.
They're all context in the game.
Look at the 3-point differential. How many 3-pointers did Tennessee and Purdue missed a ton? How many 3-pointers did Tennessee shoot compared to Purdue?
I think Tennessee was 11 for 24, and I think Purdue was 3 of 15. I can't, it's somewhere around that. That's ballpark numbers. But
I think they only shot 11. But that's your difference of shooting versus fouling, right? When you shoot 3-pointers, Purdue doesn't have the same opportunity to foul. So that's your difference. That's your situation.
That's the thing, though, Zach, is that fouls occur all across the court. You know this. It's not just about that.
But when you're shooting threes, very rarely do you foul on a 3-point shot. And they shot. I've got it. So 11 for 26 versus 3 of 15. I mean, you look at Purdue, 3 of 15.
I was pretty damn on, man. How about that?
There's your game. But 26, those are your missed shots.
Oh, well, no, the missed shots were the jumpers. They shot fine from 3. The missed shots were the mid-range jumper, Adu,
that's why they weren't drawing fouls.
I know that, dude. Like, that's not what I'm arguing. Like I'm trying to have this conversation, and you're talking over here. Like, it's okay. Anyway, Zach Edey, after the game, was asked about the Purdue players giving the net to the legendary Purdue coach, now retired, who was there. This is Purdue's first Final Four, right? So he was asked a direct question about what this means for both Matt Painter and the legendary Purdue coach there as well. That was the question asked to Zach Edey, and here was his answer.
I get to pay him back. Like, there were so many coaches that looked over me. Like, you could name a program, I could name a coach that looked over me. The Tennessee, Rick Barnes is a great coach, but he was in a bunch of our practice, looked over me. Like, it's kind of been the story of my life. People have doubted me. People look past me, and can't do that anymore.
So Zach Edey, out of the blue, drops Rick Barnes' name and says that Rick Barnes looked over.
It's not out of the blue. He just beat him.
No. But this is Rick. This is a petty
it's on
way
topic.
No, it's not. The question that was asked was about Matt Painter and about
They just beat Rick Barnes.
yes, and then so you're going to go
Who's
after
a
Rick
legendary
Barnes?
coach. Wouldn't you agree? Like Rick Barnes his
Hall of Fame
reputation is great.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Fame coach.
Every single athlete, Austin, uses so much to fuel them. It doesn't mean that they're a victim. Austin, you know how I feel. I'll bring our own in this. When we got fired from the dumbass radio station in Nashville that didn't believe in us and canceled our show and said we weren't good enough and said, we don't want you anymore, all the work that you had put in, all the sales you had made, all the ratings that you improved, you're fired. You think that now we're victims because of that? Because they looked over us? No, it's fuel. And you know what?
Different.
I like dancing on their grave every damn day. And that's not victim mentality, Austin. No, but this is where you need to separate victim and fuel. Edey is sitting there talking about fuel, what has fueled him. And Purdue, where he is today, believed in him. And everyone else, in his opinion, didn't. And it doesn't matter. Michael Jordan did it. The great players did it. Why are you the way that you are? It's not because you're playing victim. It's because you use the naysayers. And Rick Barnes would maybe because he just beat him, maybe Rick Barnes had a conversation with him. Maybe he recruited him. Maybe he didn't. It doesn't matter. But that is fuel. And so what I want to outline and portray to you, there is a polar difference between victimness and being a victim and fuel to be great or be better or win.
But there was no Rick Barnes.
That's where you're wrong here.
Okay. There was no Rick Barnes looking over Zach Edey.
He's not he's not playing victim.
Okay, all right. I'll move on from that. I'll drop that if that makes you happy. But Rick
would
Barnes,
you retract that?
Okay, sure. I'll retract it if that makes you happy. Rick Barnes was at IMG Academy, which is where Zach Edey went to. He's from Canada. He went down to Bradenton, Florida to go to IMG Academy, right? He was there. Rick Barnes was there checking in on his committed guard, Jaden Springer. There was another 4-star forward that was committed to Tennessee, Brandon Huntley-Atfield at the time. Rick Barnes was there checking in on those guys. This is not how you recruit in college basketball, very specifically. At the time, Tennessee had a commitment from a 7'1" player who was on the roster already in Uros Plavsic. So when you have 15 guys and 12 scholarships, you can only have one 7'1" guy who can hand out. Like, he didn't fit. So there was no looking over. Rick Barnes was there checking in on players that had already committed to Tennessee. That was his job.
When you don't pick me, I don't need a reason why, but you didn't pick me. You can sit here and give me the excuses of the roster and why you fired and why you didn't do it.
It wasn't a fit.
That's why it's fuel. That's why he's saying what he's saying is that regardless, if you believed in me, you'd find a way. Whether that's true or not, but that is what like athletes do. And we've seen this. So it's not new. So I do like that was a thing that I saw on Twitter of like, he is not playing the poor piddle me. I'm the victim. I can't believe this is now. This is how Zach Edey got to this point. He's celebrating and he's just using it as fuel. And I appreciate that.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get to the age game here to wrap up this Monday show. But first, shout out to Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon. Say hey to Payne Bone for us while you're there. Save some money on that new ride at WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
All right. We've got the age game coming up, and we are going to go. I mean, we haven't talked enough Purdue today, I feel like. So we have got to go to Purdue. The chat is hidden. Is that correct?
Yes, the chat is hidden.
So we're going to go with Purdue. And I was thinking about this. I'm not going to ask how old is Zach Edey's dad or Zach Edey's mom because they showed him enough yesterday.
Yes.
But I am going to go with my favorite Boilermaker and one of my favorite players of all time. And that, my friends, is Allstott up the gut. How old is Mike Allstott? Man, you talk about man, I was excited about this. How old is Mike Allstott? Mike Allstott, one of the best, if not the greatest, fullbacks in the NFL history of their game. But also a Purdue guy. Look at those shoulder pads. Broad, wide, ready to hit somebody, ready to pop Bill Callahan's daddy in the face in the Super Bowl. That's what he's ready to do.
They don't make shoulder pads like that anymore. Or much more.
No, they don't. But
aerodynamic.
How old is Mike Allstott?
I did not realize that Mike Allstott was a Purdue guy.
He is.
All right, so let's see here. You just dropped a year reference of 2002, 2003. Mike Allstott versus Bill Callahan in the Super Bowl. So we can use that to our advantage. That was definitely towards the tail end of Mike Allstott's career. I feel like he probably retired in his early 30s because of his style of play. I think he made it to 30. So I'm going to say, let's see, 2003. Let's just say he was 32. Let's say Mike Allstott, born. I'm going to say Mike Allstott is 45 years old. Final A to Z.
45?
Yeah. I don't think he's had his birthday. Final A to Z. I don't think he's had his birthday yet this year.
Final A to Z. All right. Let's go to the board. And this is all based on how it's organized as be quick, don't hurry.
Mm-hmm.
Cost 66 goes 59. That is too old. David Brown says 52. That is too old. Jake says 51. That is too old. Top tier says 54. That is too old. We may have a first. We do have a first, Austin. And unfortunately, you are incorrect. You are too young. And you are too young by 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Here is our first. We have back-to-back winner for the first time in the history of the age game, and that is Brock Kraft, because Mike Allstott is 50 years old, and Brock Kraft was the last winner last week to play this age game. Now, we will have to look into make sure he's not Googling and cheating, because you don't want to take your Reggie Bush away. But Brock Kraft times 2.
Wow.
That he is 1. That's huge. So Brock, we when you become really, really good, people start looking at you a little differently.
Yeah.
To make sure that you're not cheating. And I'm not saying that you are, but there's no Googling, but he's a back-to-back. Yep. Bork says sus. So now you're going to have to start proving these naysayers wrong.
That's right.
But
let a naysayer know.
Right there. Age, he's times 2. Brock Kraft. This is a first. He's a back-to-back champion. He's LeBron holding up the MVPs and the trophy in Miami, saying, "What's good?"
Yep. Now, Tony says, bro, I said 55 minutes ago. Well, I don't think we've been doing the age game for 5 minutes, so I don't think that would have been possible.
All right, so but, Tony, look, I will show you where you landed, Tony, and if you even did say
I see
50.
Tony's 3 minutes ago, who is also behind Orlando at 50. And behind Cristoforo at 50. And behind so Tony, you were the fourth 50.
All came in at 9:25 a.m.
You're splitting seconds, Tony. That's the whole part of this. We have a feed of both Facebook and YouTube that come in by first. And Brock's was the first of.
But yeah, Tony did say 50. It's there. Yeah. But man, look, and Bork's saying sus. If you look at it, it went, and I read it off. Cost was first at 59, then David Brown, then Jake Hughes, then top tier, and then Brock Kraft. So it was right there. Brock
the fourth answer that came in. That's why you got to be quick, but not hurry.
And I don't think YouTube is playing nice to Brock, because Jake Hughes was a Facebooker.
Yeah.
And Jake Hughes was before Brock, who was a YouTuber.
That's right.
So
Jake Hughes was the second guess on Facebook. After
and David was
the first
before Jake, who was a YouTuber. So like,
That's right.
you know, that's how it plays. So Mike Allstott up the gut. The A Train is 50 years old.
All right, man. I did not think he was that old. Oh, well, all right. Well, that'll be it for us on this Monday morning. Don't forget to hit that like button on the show. Big week as we lead up to the Final Four. We've got our bracket challenge leaderboard out there. Shout out Princess Hot Chicken at the Finger Outlets for that. And so make sure you hit that like button, like the show before you go. It helps us out, helps the algorithm. And Buck Rising will be live tonight for A to Z Sports Primetime. We'll check you guys tomorrow on a Tuesday. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.